Now Camille banned immediately, has been a relative power pick. Not used a ton as a flex pick in Europe, but ROCCAT have been one of the teams to do so. So Unicorns taking the risk away. Zoe, Caitlyn following up. Nothing too out of the ordinary yet. The standard Skarner ban that we've only really seen come into play this week being used as well. Vedius, what are we expecting to see?
Ooh, so I think that when you look at a lot of the junglers and mid laners that are still available, Ryze is a big one for the Unicorns of Love that I feel you have to take away from Exileh. The Zoe ban, while she is a strong mid lane champion, is also, I feel, another comfort pick for Exileh. And what we do know is when the Unicorns play towards mid lane, when Exileh has a comfort pick, that is when he is truly set up to succeed. So I think ROCCAT's game plan should be to just take him off his comfort.
Additionally, we saw Samux now stepping up, so ROCCAT are in a bit of a tough spot in terms of what they want to deny, what they want to take away, but comfort for Exileh, I think you're right, has always been the name of the game. Exileh definitely a creature of habit. Ryze, Vladimir, LeBlanc, Kassadin, historically those are his champions. One of them now taken away in the Ryze.
You would imagine the immediate first pick, Tristana. Samux was able to pick it up yesterday, and many AD carries have proclaimed that she is really the strongest AD carry in the meta right now, has a good laning phase, has great scaling, really just kind of ticks all the boxes for what you could want. This will give ROCCAT the freedom to lock in a comfort pick for profit up in the top lane, but also secure a strong jungler. Many are left up and available. Things like the Sejuani and the Xayah are both commonly picked by both these junglers, and it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to try and prioritize that.
And Gnar just generally a good champion, feels like in the meta now. A safe option, ROCCAT not showing their hand too soon. Standard kind of meta picks, and of course comfort for profit. Decent amount of comfort for Memento in terms of actual pick quantity, but hasn't been the most successful on the Sejuani thus far, is 1-4 on the champion overall.
He did have that great game of steals up against Vitality with the Sejuani, but you are right, arguably not one of his strongest performances, but I'm hoping it's a little more comfortable for him compared to what we saw yesterday when he was on the Jax and really didn't have that level of impact. Unicorns of Love going to actually early lock in their mid laner, which means that they won't be able to match with either a top or a jungle, allowing ROCCAT to pinch that pool later on. If you're ROCCAT, our Unicorns are, I think you should try and lock in the Jarvan right now, which we know Kold has had a lot of success with so far.
And we've seen how well they play together, but Vedius playing around in Azir in the mid lane. I'm wondering if this is something they can put together. It's not the Ryze, it's not the point and click early game snowball setup. Instead, they are going to opt for the Tahm Kench. Unicorns of Love putting a lot more emphasis on the bottom side of the map than they have in previous drafts.
Interesting. They picked the Tahm Kench, I think, as kind of an answer to the engage that ROCCAT has drafted. The ulti can only really stun one person, so if someone gets hit by it, you have that safety of Tahm to then take them over to safety. And I think that the pick makes sense, but it does give ROCCAT the opportunity to then draft themselves a pushing bot side of the map, which they can look to then play through.
The only issue I have with Unicorns of Love right now, Exileh 0-5 on this Azir. They prioritize things, but I mean, they've had a rough split. We have to remember that. But still, definitely not a comfort pick for Exileh. And now, because they've opted to take it early, they've given up something like the Jarvan. The ROCCAT have now taken away something that Kold, the only champion actually, Kold has won on. 3-0 with the champion.
I also think ROCCAT can ban away the Xayah very quickly afterwards. Unicorns actually banning away the Ezreal. So a part of me thinks this is a benefit to many European teams because they really struggle to utilize the Ezreal power spike very effectively, but clearly the Unicorns are still afraid of the Corki Ezreal duo, which have a very strong Trinity Force double power spike. I think it makes sense from the Unicorns. I wouldn't be surprised if we potentially saw something like a Xayah ban as well. Perhaps ROCCAT want to go for that strong 2 versus 2, but the next big one I'm looking at is something like the Varus. I think it gives you a lot of 2 versus 2 potential, and I think that it's a champion that Heaq is very likely to bring out.
Historically, Heaq was pretty good in the utility AD carry meta when it was Jhin, Ashe, Varus, but it's not something he's really picked up this season whatsoever. So it would be a bit of a shift from him in terms of how he's been playing stylistically with ROCCAT, but definitely not something that's out of his wheelhouse entirely.
I like the Braum ban. We're seeing a lot more versus Norskeren. One of his big comfort picks is most played champion during the regular season, but it looks like the 2 options that we talked about, whether it be the Xayah or the Varus, Heaq saying that he wants to go for a bit of a stronger 2 versus 2.
can opt to go for the Rakan as well if they want the duo. No bans there. May have a different priority in mind, however, for supports. Braum, as you already mentioned, taken off the board, so no Norskeren comfort picks. Unicorns of Love, though, going to have to show the rest of their hand with their 2 final picks.
Now, you would expect something like a tank up in the top lane. As I say that, we immediately see the Ornn coming out for WhiteKnight. I was kind of thinking maybe they'd go for a Cho'Gath and then they'd have that big Baron win condition to play around. But instead, they feel we're lacking a bit of an engage right now. And with Zach and Jarvan taken off the board, we need to get that engage from somewhere else. And that's where Ornn fits perfect.
And now, what does Kold play? Is it going to be the Kha'Zix? This right here is something that I was not ready for. Kold has been all about the tanks since Unicorns of Love have started winning. He tried the carries early on, Vedius, and it went so poorly for the Unicorns. Now he's back on that roll. Now he's back on the Kha'Zix. And this is a bit of a gamble, I feel like, from the Unicorns.
Well, the thing about Unicorns comp is it does scale very nicely. Deficio talked about on the desk how he was looking at both these comps and their ability to fight in the late game. Feel like we're going to have a lot of fighting, but ROCCAT have the ability to play the 1-3-1. Corki off on the side lane with the TP, Prophet on the other side lane. It's a style that they have shown some proficiency in, but not really refined. It's a style that they've kind of flipped in between. Sometimes they draft team fights, sometimes they draft 1-3-1, and we yet to see them really.
But if you're a fan of ROCCAT, this is something you're excited about, because this is one of the things separating them from them being a clear contender for top of the table, is that they couldn't quite play that 1-3-1. So if they can execute here, if they can do it with confidence, take down a team that is below them in the standings, that is a good look. On the other side, Unicorns of Love, all about that late game, Vedius. Azir, Tristana together. Can they make it through the early game? Can they not give up any advantages? Because Trashy talked about 9 to 16 minutes, this great kind of early to mid game point. This team doesn't want to do anything in 9 to 16 minutes. This team wants to sit back. They need more items. They need more time.
I mean, the thing I'm concerned about for the Unicorns is their typical style is play through mid. Kha'Zix Xayah is going to really struggle to camp a champion like a Corki, who's relatively safe during the laning phase. He does have the teleport as well. I feel like the Unicorns are going to have to show us a different style of gameplay. More patient in the early game, as opposed to the constant skirmishing, constant fighting that we've seen a lot from the Unicorns over their last 2 wins.
Is it safe to assume then that we just want to see ROCCAT force those fights, use advantages as they can, not let the Unicorns sit comfortably in the early to mid game?
Yeah, I think ROCCAT, given that they want to play towards this 1-3-1, they need to utilize the fact that they have pressure bot, they have pressure up top, and this Corki with the package can look to roam around the map, so they need to be the ones looking to make these proactive plays in the first parts of the game.
Well, here we go. ROCCAT versus Unicorns of Love. You can hear the crowd is ready. The rift is beautiful. It's like a scene from a Disney movie. This is insane. The crowd, really good crowd, guys.
The Irish love to be passionate. They love to show their passion towards.
They love to be passionate.
That's the word.
Oh, wow. We're ready. We've got conflicting cheers. All of them sound positive. I am ready. I'm excited. We got the boom boom clap and the Unicorns not quite synced up. Queen has officially beat out the Unicorns of Love for popular chant. Probably fair given the historic value of Queen.
It's very catchy, I must admit.
Oh, we love ROCCAT. I love it.
Yes, it's so very good.
All right.
Anyway, chaps.
All right, now we have to talk about the Liga.
Yeah.
Very good crowd. Very
good.
much love it. Keep it up. Now, League of Legends.
Yes,
as
League
we jump
of
back
Legends.
in.
That is our job.
Vedius, I think there's a lot of lanes that we can talk about, and there's a lot of things that are going to be interesting here. But before we get into the laning phase itself, I want to talk a little bit about the difference in junglers, because Kha'Zix is a pick that we haven't seen be quite as successful in Europe as it has been in LCK, for example.
Yeah, so the thing about Kha'Zix is he's a great skirmisher. He's great at punishing champions on a side lane later into the game, largely because in like 1v1s, 2v2s, even 3v3s, he has a lot of damage and he can offer a lot of threat. So when players like Prophet and Blanc are looking to sit off in a side lane, you then have someone like a WhiteKnight who's sitting there trying to hold the lane. Kold comes in, you have the engage coming out from the Ornn, and then it's very easy because you have the extra damage from this Kha'Zix to get the shutdown and punish these side lane kinds of threats. And because of the invisibility that you'll get from the ultimate that's upgraded, you have a lot of mobility through the jungle, you can take a lot of creative paths, and it becomes very easy to punish these side lanes. So I can understand it as a pick to try and shut down this 1-3-1, but in terms of the early game, the only real lane that you can gank is towards the top side. you don't really have a huge amount of setup in bot or mid, so I can't really imagine that Kold is looking to go for a lot of early plays, unless he wants to try and go for a couple of invades, which are still very risky when you see this Gnar pushing up in the top lane, and Corki will start to push once he gets a couple of levels under his belt.
And it feels a little bit difficult. Corki, you talk about pushing. Right now, Azir has the push. It does free up Kold to enter the jungle, but Memento, credits to him, he was pinging out the pathing early on, is clearly prepared for the early game Kha'Zix invades. For a bit more, we'll grab the CS there. Gnar pushes in on the top side. We check across the map. All is quiet so far, but Unicorns love doing a good job of getting the push early on here, despite any kind of all-in threat that Xayah and Rakan might have. Set up now for a slower early game. The Kold may have something to say about that. I don't think that camp is there.
Memento will be spotted. Oh, it is. It's quite interesting. So, Memento chose not to do the Raptors because he was aware that Kold was going for the invade. Given that Exileh had the push.
Good sidestep. 2 stacks looking for 4. If this connects, that's going to be a lot of immediate burst damage. Kold could go down for first blood here. Does have the leap. Just going to back right now. Blanc going to move forward for a little bit more. Wants to get it. Will he trade his life back in exchange? Exileh still playing so forward, so aggressive. If anyone is going to flash for a kill in the early game, it is Exileh, but he's not going to push it.
Blanc messed up. I think his basic attack actually went on to Exileh rather than Kold. Whether that was a misclick or whether he just wasn't quite in range, I'm not sure. Hopefully we'll get a replay to see exactly how close it was, but I feel like Blanc should have secured that kill. And Kold very luckily gets away with his life. The value of early vision, so very good from both sides, allows Memento to get the punish. So, notice here, Memento is very aware of what's going on. Corki was able to push the wave back out, so they're able to collapse as a 2-man onto the jungler. He's forced to flash very early. And now, just keep your eyes on what Blanc does here. He wants to flash. He just cancels the order.
Oh, that feels bad, man.
That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, you have to wonder if he would have died to Exileh, if he had taken the extra 1/10 of a second to complete the auto animation, but that, I think at that point you call worth. Lane's already pushed in your favor. End of the day, though, they do manage to shut down Kold's early aggression to a certain degree. He does still have a lead in the jungle, though, so not a great spot. And our favorite Corki interaction where you hear the Gatling gun sound forever. This is a classic.
Hey!
Oh, and it's gone. Yeah.
Fix. Teleport apparently redeems it. Looking across some of the runes, I don't see anything too surprising. We have the Glacier Augment down on the Tahm Kench. We've been seeing that a lot more on melee supports to just add a bit of extra sticking power and utility. The Unsealed Spellbook on Norskeren as well, something that you'll commonly see on the Rakan to swap later out towards the Cleanse later on into the game, maybe even an Exhaust if that Kha'Zix becomes a big problem in later fights.
Yeah, and of course, while this matchup may have been kind of originally slated to be much more ROCCAT favored, we've seen recently the Unicorns of Love have been stepping up, and when you talk about that bot lane, I think it's good that we point out Samux. Because Samux has been a huge contender for getting things done, and especially yesterday, we saw him really show up for this team.
I mean, last split, I considered Samux one of the best AD carries in Europe, and I think that he was on a great team in the Unicorns, and while they faltered in playoffs, he showed a lot of promise. Unfortunately, coming into this split on a new environment, he didn't really have that same level of presence, and eyes will be on him to see if he can be a big carry this time.
For now, the focus is on the top side. The leap going to be traded for the flash. Electrocute block. It's a lot of damage, but not quite enough. Totoro manages to get 3 stacks. There's trades all across the map. No one able to grab a kill yet, however, Vedius.
So I'm a little surprised by this bot lane. Samux, you know, we were just talking about him. Both him and Totoro are doing a good job of mitigating the early pressure of a Xayah Rakan. Typically, they want to be building lane advantages. You can see how passionate the crowd gets when it comes to farming.
I thought they were just a really big fan of North American sports. Apparently not.
Oh, Olay! That was weak.
That was probably weak. The crowd agrees.
So, Kold skirmish with Memento up in the top side.
WhiteKnight wants to continue to extend this trade. Does have the Call of the Forge God up and available. Probably not worth the trade, though. Gnar, a lot of immediate burst damage if he wants to go in. Kold on the way up. Level 6 is going to be important for the junglers as well, Vedius. You talked about the stealth, the creative pathing available to Kha'Zix. Sejuani, a little bit more of a traditional ultimate. A little...
Run at throw thing, and then freeze stuff is the typical game plan for Sejuani.
And the official name of the ability, as it turns out.
Yeah, turns out. Looking at early Drakes, Cloud Drake is on the board, so likely won't be the highest of priority for either side. Exileh doing pretty well in terms of the early laning phase as well, having a healthy CS advantage over Blanc. You would imagine that is due to the fact that Blanc used his flash to try and get that kill and then had to go back to base a little bit earlier than he originally planned.
Yeah, Now decent. You know, the XP lead nice for Exileh. I want to see if he can transition into anything. Notoriously aggressive player. You think you're playing a late game champion, or Exileh's playing a late game champion, it still is going to try to make plays in the early game. Does not matter. He always likes to look for those exchanges.
So my only concern right now with the draft that ROCCAT has is I feel that as a team, they're very good at playing around the mid-game onwards. When it comes to building early leads, this isn't really the strongest team at doing that. Memento is much more of a control-focused jungler where he invests a lot more into vision early on rather than ganks. And as a result, I'm worried about how this Xayah Rakan will do, because typically during the laning phase, you want to be building leads and putting pressure down onto a Tristana that in the later game will end up outscaling you. Now, that's not to say that in the mid-game, this Xayah is going to be weak, but it's important for ROCCAT to have this early lead, because when you want to play a 1-3-1, if you can't generate pressure on a side lane, it means that UOL can just keep grouping up as a 5-man unit, keep forcing you to collect, and their comp is much better designed for these 5v5 scenarios. So for ROCCAT, I'm just a little bit concerned how this bot lane will hold up, given that already during the laning phase they are falling behind.
We've talked a lot about how scaling is the name of the game for the Unicorns. Although good aggression does now come in on the bottom side, a positive trade for ROCCAT, one of the first of the game. Totoro, though, managed to retain the lane pressure. Minion Dematerializer making it pretty easy for them to keep Heaq and Norskeren under the tower. But across the board, it feels like ROCCAT are the team that needs to do something early on, because you don't really want to go toe-to-toe with an Azir Tristana the later the game gets.
Now, that's not to say that ROCCAT don't have scaling, right? You look at this Corki and you're thinking, okay, very big late game threat, there's definitely damage here. Often a side lane against an Ornn. Gnar is definitely, ooh, that's a lot of damage. Ornn is definitely not someone that can be easily, the Gnar is not someone that can be easily pushed around, but just in terms of the whole composition, like, Kha'Zix scales well, he does a lot of damage in the late game, like Azir and Tristana. Ornn is a great tank. ROCCAT, definitely the emphasis on them is to get this early lead, and right now, they're yet to really find anything, but still very early on, plenty of opportunities for them to still find that advantage.
Now Totoro, though, trying to build some advantages for his team, is going to make use of the bot lane pressure, spots out Memento. It's a good cue for Samux to back off and lets Kold know that he can play aggressive on the top side. Immediate response here from the Unicorns of Love Jungler. He's ready to leap over that wall. Don't know if he's going to go for it. Control Ward will spot him out if he wants to pursue the play, but Unicorns clearly trying to put their map pressure to good use. Samux, though, going to have to give them the respect they deserve. Rocket Jump making it all too easy. What we can say is that ROCCAT are clearly aware, Vedius, that they want to get something done. They're trying to use that level 6 for Sejuani, but no one on the Unicorns is overextending. Exileh is playing safe.
He is. He's even doing pretty well in farm. But, you know, to be fair, Exileh had a good game in the early parts yesterday.
True.
It was when he was 3-0 that he said, I can flash into 3 members and get an outplay. So I'm going to hold off on my perceptions of Exileh until a little bit later on.
And I agree. I think he's been improving constantly. He's just the kind of player that you're never sure what he's going to do, because he likes to play on the razor's edge, but his razor's edge is super different from anyone else I've ever seen. So he will go for some crazy stuff, and sometimes he does make it work, but sometimes he leaps into 3 people, as you mentioned. So luckily for him, there's only one person in the mid lane. Can't leap into 3 of them.
So now what UOL are doing is, remember, we talked a lot about how ROCCAT want to find this early lead, and one of the best places for them to do it is in the bot side of the map, because you have Azir in the Khan. Unicorns of Love sent their bottom lane up towards top, because by doing this, you can hopefully get an early tower, and then you open up the map more, making it harder for ROCCAT to find those advantages and basically take advantage of what is the standard 2 versus 2. But ROCCAT did a great job of reading the play. They sent their bot lane up through their own jungle to answer the 2 versus 2. But due to the early vision that Kold had set up, you can see a couple of wards littered throughout the enemy jungle of ROCCAT's top side. That allowed them to spot it, and now they've immediately swapped back. So their eyes are now set on this first tower bot. And I don't know if Heaq and Norskeren are going to get there in time.
They do have the Gnar there for now. In theory, they can get the Sejuani as well. But this is kind of the smart mid-game play you were talking about when it comes to ROCCAT. They do seem to have... The macro isn't always perfect, but there's always these kind of glimpses of brilliance. Have to see if they can execute, have to see if they can hold the tower and maybe actually get benefit from this, or see if they try a little too hard and it actually ends up counting against them if they overstep there a little bit.
And the big issue with constantly swapping all the time is someone's going to end up losing out on farm, and right now that person seems to be Heaq. So UOL still finding advantages by being the ones to proactively make these swaps and actually doing it at the right time. The question is, can UOL keep this up? Because it feels like that they're playing towards the win conditions of ROCCAT. They recognize what ROCCAT wants to do, and they're just trying to mitigate them as much as possible.
And of course, two people we always have to keep our eyes on. Well, for now it's Samux, but Totoro's going to save him. I feel like Exileh and Kold, normally the center of attention. When they're playing Ryze and Jarvan, it's really easy. This time, though, it's a little bit different. They both have playmakers in their own right. Kha'Zix with potential to steal this away. We'll focus on the individual play in front of us. Kold getting aggressive, a lot of burst damage. They look for the ulti. Memento going to try to just find a path out to safety, and they will secure the red. Good movement from Unicorns. But on the subject of Kold and Exileh, Vedius, I feel like they've been playing as a duo for so long. It's interesting to see a game where they might not actually need to play together, and as Samux makes yet another escape.
Ooh. You know, every time you try to set up a narrative point, Drake goes, the game just will not let you.
I've got a strategy now, Vedius.
Go on.
If that's what you're saying.
Okay.
ROCCAT feel like a team that need wins right now. Never mind. Okay,
Never mind.
So I was trying, and I thought that maybe they'd start killing each other.
I saw your I saw your attempt. But let's backtrack towards this jungle mid duo, because as we mentioned, Unicorns of Love, throughout their 2 wins, have gained them basically by playing through middle lane. A lot of their early advantages have come through playing through the mid lane. You think about when Unicorns played against Fnatic in G2, they got early leads. They were actually doing extremely well. They could have won those games, but then a couple of bad decisions resulted in them, unfortunately, falling short. But a lot of them was gained through basically setting up Exileh for success, getting him early leads, and allowing him to be a carry and a playmaker, which we know he can be. This game, though, they're not really doing that. They put him on something safe. He is 0-5 on Azir, and that's why eyes are kind of on Exileh to see how he will perform without getting all this jungle support that, so far, Unicorns have been able to make work very successfully.
Now, for now, however, is going to be about the Rift Herald. Memento is moving in, could potentially look for the steal. The eye is exposed. It's going to get pushed back. Smite. Gonna get it in the end. Memento's just going to try to pick that one up. They can't even kill him before he grabs it. He's going to not make it out with his life, but First Blood traded for the Rift Herald. ROCCAT just sitting there smiling and saying worth. Now they're going to look for the turn back onto Corki. Not going to find the connect. Exileh still looking to make the play, but doesn't have the ultimate to lock him down. Unbreakable, looking for a little bit of a knockdown. Gnar comes in, the flash forward, immediate flash out from Exileh. Now Unicorns of Love are looking for the turn. Leap in from Kold, he wants to clean it up. Exileh gonna grab it in the end, but there's action in the bot lane as well. Samux leaps right in onto Heaq, tries to sidestep with the ultimate, and he will be able to. The quickness, not quite quick enough to grab a kill, but will get him out with his life. Action across the map.
ROCCAT, they wanted to not give away that Rift Herald for free. I think Memento losing his life for it is a fine trade, but Profit overstaying, trying to make something happen was a big mistake. And now Totoro
goes golden, but as might not be enough time, just brings the feathers back. Can Totoro make it out? He's so low, he flashes to safety. Ignite still gonna burn him down. Samux gonna fire one back though.
They end up trading 1 for 1. Unicorns of Love picking up a number of early game kills and setting themselves up for what will be a fantastic start. So, let's have a look at how Memento steals this one away. Early smite comes out from Kold. They want to hit the eye. Unfortunately, he misses it. That allows Memento to come in, steal it away, and then he ends up losing his life. Now, if Profit just walks away at this point, they're fine. But he thinks that given the Gnar is coming up with Profit, they can actually go for a play here. But Exileh is just waiting for it to happen. He's reading it, he recognizes it. Really good reactive flash from him. Allows him to escape, and basically puts Profit in a situation where he can't escape.
Playing on the edge there, and immediately we saw the all-in engage on the bottom side. And I mean, if you're Norskeren and Heaq, it's the kind of opportunity you're looking for. You see everyone else on the top, you want to go for the fight.
And Totoro, he was very low, but this just allows Samux to just free hit onto Norskeren, who is kind of squishy this early on. Samux, he had already completed the BF sword, so he was more than happy to take that trade. And trading 1 for 1 in a Tristana versus Xayah lane, definitely best case scenario for you.
Happy to get it. Essence Reaver completed for Heaq, but Samux ever closer to the 2-item point that you kind of have to be scared of. And Kold and Exileh, they are living in this jungle right now, Vedius. Taking those raptor camps, or trying to, at least every time they spawn. Bit of a difficult situation for Memento, as the Kha'Zix at least can win out on the 1v1 exchanges, but luckily his laners have been there to back him up time and time again.
UOL doing their best to take advantage of what pressure they do have. Exileh feels very confident wave clearing in the mid. He's fallen a little bit behind, but that deficit is nothing significant considering he's picked up a kill and an assist. Now Kold, looking for another gank, will sneakily make his way through, and because of the
get through every single bush.
This is the creative path that we talked about. He's now got his eyes set on Profit. They're just waiting for the overextension. Will Profit read the play?
Playing around. He's going to go mini here. Means it's a lot easier for him to get out, but not going to be worried about it. Kold is just going to back off in the end. Full AD for the Kha'Zix now coming in here. Memento unfortunately not aware that the pit is warded. Does mean that Unicorns will know the play is coming. That is a Moby boots Kha'Zix headed in. Control ward in the inventory too. Does not opt to use it, but it looks like ROCCAT may be able to grab it in the end. TP now coming in. They want to finish this one out. They are going to throw the ultimate forward, but immediately Samux is leaping in. Memento may have stayed a little bit too long. Gets taken down by Exileh. Call the Forge God, getting kicked forward. Now they're on the chase. Blanc could be in trouble. Look at Exileh coming in over the wall. Team's going to back off in the end, but a greedy play comes in from ROCCAT.
That was so greedy. No smite on Memento. Control ward in inventory that he chooses not to use in order to secure vision within the pit. And he had no flash, so there was no way in which he would effectively disengage should Unicorns of Love look to force a fight. Overall, bad setup, bad execution, UOL rightfully punished. And, I mean, this was just way too greedy. Look, like, Memento, he has no smite. He can't even secure this. There's no need to force this play from ROCCAT. And given that he has no flash, there's no way you're going to escape from this comp that has so much mobility, and even the ulti from Totoro that can flank your escape route anyway. Very poor decision-making there from ROCCAT.
Does use the Rift Herald on the top side. Looks like was about to time out, so he was forced to use it. And Vedius, this is kind of what we talked about. ROCCAT putting themselves on a little bit of a clock. Of course, the scaling difference, not the end-all be-all. You mentioned it. There's still a lot of room for executional play here on the side of ROCCAT, but they had the Xayah and the Rakan. They had the good engage options. We expected that they would be the team making the plays early on, but just a little bit too eager.
And I was one of the advocates for ROCCAT. I said that this is a really strong team with a lot of strong potential, but right now, this is not looking like the team that we saw earlier in the split that was getting a lot of those confident wins. They are very low in the standings, and Unicorns have ROCCAT within eyesight. Only 2 wins away. If UOL secure a win here, they close that gap with a lot of middle-of-the-pack teams, and they keep their playoff hopes much more alive.
Nature of the season as well, only 18 games. A lot of room for upsets, a lot of room to climb, even in the last few weeks. No one's cemented as a clear number 1 or number 2 yet. Nobody's locked in.
Yeah, it's interesting because often I hear people say, like, this is a result of best of ones. But back in my day, when I was a youngin', when we had best of ones in the start, there was a very clear bottom teams, there was a clear top teams, and then there were just middle of the pack that would often take games off of each other. Whereas right now, I feel like there are no very clearly defined bottom teams. Everyone from 4th place down, or even 3rd place down, arguably, is taking games off of each other, and the only thing that's defined is who is a clear top 2. And that, to me, makes this split just so exciting, and the race for playoffs, we literally have no idea who our top 6 is going to be, aside from everyone's pretty confident that G2 and Fnatic will be there.
And I mean, the insanity of it, too, is if you look at Unicorns of Love, well, they're going to make a play, so we'll focus up on that. Quickness does come in. They are looking for a little bit of a disengage. D2 and Norskeren are going to make a good play to make it out in the end. Memento is here on the way back. Samux is actually going to get engaged on. Rocket Jump does manage to take him to safety. Ult's not going to connect.
Ooh. That's a rough one. Yeah, ROCCAT's execution definitely off today. Memento completely missing the ulti, not able to land it down to Samux. No summon spells were even used.
Oh, Exileh. Feeling frisky, sees the low mana bar, knows he can get the engage.
He knows where the enemy jungler is too, and he identified that Kold was in the river on his way to support him. Boots of mobility as well on the Kha'Zix, meaning that he can quickly join should Blanc choose to go for the fight back. So I like the aggression there from Exileh, but Gold's still relatively even. Farm is still decent for Blanc in the middle lane. He has hit the Trinity Force Spite. And Gold also not that far apart for them down in the bottom half of the map too. So ROCCAT not completely out of this game yet. Still plenty of opportunities for them to come back. It's just the scaling factor that they have to be careful of.
And I mean, we haven't... No towers have gone down, Vedius. This is very much, as you said, anybody's game. The potential is here for anyone to come back. And despite the fact that Samux is feeling pretty comfortable, he's approaching that 2-item spike, still can't comfortably free hit that tower to start taking down these objectives. Now, however, we may see the mid lane jungle synergy come into play if Kold can get a successful gank off. They are trying to pressure in on Blanc. Decent wave clear on the Corki, but they will find a few more autos. Just want to burn through the tower. Blanc focusing on Kold. It means Exileh gets to free hit. Ready to trade his life if necessary, but the shifting sands will take him out to safety in the end.
Good secure there from the Unicorns of Love. Taking down that mid-tier 1 is great in terms of the map control that you gain. Setting up deep vision towards the enemy jungle becomes a lot easier. And looking to try and make plays also becomes that bit easier. But ROCCAT, quick to answer. They know that Kold and Exileh have to back, given that they are both very low on HP. And so they will equalize. They won't get that same gold income, but they can be pretty happy nonetheless.
And as we check in 22 minutes into the game, really only a 1K gold lead for Unicorns of Love, backed up now by the Cloud Drake as well. You check in on the CS and actually not ahead really anywhere.
Yeah, there's only a slight difference up in the top lane. Prophet has a slight advantage, but my eyes are drawn to that item build over on Exileh. Looks like he's going for third item death cap.
2.5 item death cap, technically. Oh, Totoro, though, he's ready to make a play on the Prophet.
That's very true. You are correct. He could go Leandry's first and then transition later on. He just wants the flat AP from the needlessly large rod. But I think it's very risky to go for that very early on into the game. I think it's much more of a fourth item. I think getting a Void Staff is much more valuable, especially seeing as things like the Locket and a lot of early Merc Treads can come out at this point in the game. So we'll see how that works out for him. But I always consider it a bit of a greedy build.
Yeah, it definitely is the case. Next patch, maybe Death Cap will be a little bit stronger, but for now, Void Staff feels so often. Yes, the right choice. Now Exileh going to look to make a play. Blanc, nice bout to take out to safety. Could not have afforded to get knocked into Kold there. Exileh still trying to push the limit, still trying to poke in, but right now it does feel like the ball is in Unicorns of Love court. It is ROCCAT playing defensive, ROCCAT responding to the lane swap from Unicorns, and not the other way around.
I mean, like, ROCCAT's 2v2 is just getting pushed in now. I'm not that confident that they'll actually win all in trades anymore. I feel like Tristana, when she hits 2 items against Xayah, it trades pretty well. Because of the pressure that they have in mid from Exileh's Azir, it enables them to swiftly move down towards bot and just 2-man their objectives. That'll be their second Drake of the game. And I'm kind of disappointed in ROCCAT right now because yesterday we saw them just allow G2 to take control over the whole game. They didn't even try to be that proactive. And yes, I admit it was hard because G2 didn't leave very many openings. But I don't want ROCCAT to do the same. I feel like they have a lot of tools in their kit to force plays. They have a lot of options available to them, whether it be team fighting or the 1-3-1. And I don't just want them to lose control. So getting that tower up in the top lane by bringing Memento up is a great start. Let's see ROCCAT continue with this kind of proactive play, given that Unicorns of Love so far have been dictating the pace.
And they have tried a few plays. They did fumble a bit on the bottom side of the map with the ult flow, but the coordination has been off. So at least their heads are in the right spot. You know, they know that they want to play proactive. Memento willing to take risks. Some of those risks backfired. That's what we saw in the Dragon fight. That's where we're seeing the goal difference come in, is the kill score, of course, in the end.
He actually went death cap. Wow. All right, fair enough.
I mean, we had a guy go Nashor's Tooth every single game last season.
That is true.
I mean, without a zero in the meta, to be clear. So EU mids.
So just like, I've been told that it's actually just not super efficient to go for an early death cap because you get more value when you have more AP. And when you have the Nashor's Tooth plus a Haunting Guise, you don't really get that much AP to make the most value out of it, which is why it's better a 4th, 5th item purchase rather than an early 3rd item one. But it still gives you a lot of raw AP, and it's like the damage isn't going to hurt him, and I don't think that right now he needs that much magic penetration, just looking at some of the itemization coming out from Memento. So it's not a terrible purchase, perhaps just not the optimal one. Maybe I'm just nitpicking a little bit, but we'll see how things work out for him.
You're a mid laner. You do sure like to talk about mid lane, which is fair.
I just think it's quite interesting, the difference in itemization. Blanc, though, very standard. You would expect something like the Rapid Fire Cannon to come out next. Infinity Edge is definitely a big power spike for him.
And it's interesting, too, because on 80 carries, you'd argue that an IE before a crit item is a bad choice because of the same logic, right? It's a multiplier.
Very true.
But Corki's happy with one really strong crit to bring it home. Memento knows that he's spotted. Sees Kold there, but hasn't spotted Totoro yet. We'll see him now. Looking for the immediate engage. This could be the coordination. We are talking about firing back. Exileh still in the middle of the team. Now backing off as the TP comes in. Prophet still full mini. Is going to grab 1 kill back for himself. ROCCAT find the opportunity in the jungle. Catch Unicorns of Love sleeping. Exileh now in no man's land. Has the shifting sands. Uses everything to escape in the end. But nice quick pickup there for ROCCAT.
Yeah, now they punished Unicorns of Love for trying to set up vision to take that tier 1 in the top lane. Because the goal of Unicorns moving into the enemy jungle is to gain control around topside and basically just make securing that tower that much easier. ROCCAT read the play, they reacted effectively, and they're able to find a successful pick down onto Totoro. So good response there from ROCCAT. They equalized the gold just that bit more.
Exactly what they want. 27 minutes into the game. We talked about the scaling game being so crucial this time around. ROCCAT making sure that Unicorns of Love aren't allowed to do it for free, contesting them as they try to push in and extend their lead. But it is still terrifying. Still the Azir Tristana to watch out for as Norskeren has to run for his life. Doesn't manage to leap back for the team. WhiteKnight is going to connect onto 2 or 3. Blanc, though, left in the middle of everything. Profits on the backside. Can he save his brethren there? So it looks like it's Blanc versus the world under this tower. It's so low health. He's exhausted. 2 stacks 3. Absolutely destroyed in the exchange. But the rest of ROCCAT is here. The flash forward. Exileh with the immediate flash out. Norskeren is fearless on the engage. He is going to connect onto 3. All alone is WhiteKnight on the bottom side. They want to get a little bit more. They want to keep it going, but they have to be careful because Samux and Exileh are still alive and healthy. An absolute bloodbath, Vedius.
The focus from ROCCAT seemed a little off right there. Most of them were targeting the tank right in front of them, whereas Norskeren was like, hey guys, I've got 4 up in the top side, all pretty low, all pretty squishy, yet there was 0 follow-up. Unicorns end up coming out ahead in the exchange, and this is where things all kicked off. Kold taking advantage of his mobility and stealth to try and find a pick onto Norskeren, and again, gain vision around the top side. Blanc wants to try and flank, but unfortunately, you're a Corki. So Unicorns of Love, utilizing the Tahm Kench ultimate, are able to set up a collapse of their own, and they secure the quick kill. Now, this is where ROCCAT kind of split apart because their eyes like, hey, let's focus WhiteKnight. And rather than follow up on Norskeren, they continue the chase onto WhiteKnight. Heaq is kind of indecisive as to where he wants to go. And I feel like we just saw a bit of a communication breakdown there for ROCCAT as Unicorns of Love cleanly pick themselves up 2 easy kills.
You can see Exileh and Samux just uncontested, allowed to do damage. Whereas Heaq forced to hit a tank when he could. And Blanc, of course, taken out of the fight very quickly. Vedius, they can't afford poor execution like this. They can't afford to be uncoordinated because there's that dream world where you connect the multi-man Gnar ult, you get beautiful Xayah follow-up with her ultimate, and you just rip through the squishy members of the Tristana and the Azir. But WhiteKnight, the one person on the team, I think you can safely say that you do not want to burn all of your cooldowns killing in a full-on 5v5.
That is very accurate, Drakos. TLDR, it's not always the best thing to focus the person in front of you. And I'm just keeping an eye on what options do Unicorns and ROCCAT have right now. Unicorns, that was a big trade.
Oh, here comes Totoro. He wants to keep it going. They're going to look for the disengage. Alt traded for alt.
But this forces ROCCAT out. That allows Unicorns to now go into the enemy jungle, and it's all on Samux once again. He was given the Tristana. He's having another great performance. The Baron taking power of this squad is very fast, and it looks like their eyes are set on securing it.
Oh, very risky, but Blanc is not there. Does have the TP. We'll check if the package is up, but for now, Unicorns of Love going to try to burn this one through. Memento has stolen a lot of Barons this season. Can he find one more? It looks like they're going to try to find the disengage. It's going to connect on 3 members. Now they want to burn it down. Unicorns of Love shifting focus, but still they're trying to bring it back. Norskeren leaping all over the place. Memento's in the middle of the pit. Can they take him down? Smite comes through. Not going to matter in the end, but there goes Prophet. He manages to find 2. Blanc is in the backside. Unicorns of Love are paying the iron price for this Baron. ROCCAT fire back.
Unicorns secure the Baron, but ROCCAT win the fight. All 5 members are alive, but securing 3 kills will deny Unicorns a lot of the pressure that they'll get from the Baron, and ROCCAT can be pretty happy off the back of that. Let's see Unicorns, again, very fast Baron-taking team. They recognize very quickly, listen, we can finish this very quickly. Memento isn't close enough yet. Even though he flashes into the pit, he gets consumed. He can't secure the smite, and now all Unicorns of Love want to do is get away, but the collapse is too strong from this ROCCAT squad. The best they can do is just fend for themselves, every man for themselves. And that results in only 2 members, Kold and Samux, walking away with that objective. A lot of praise has to go to Exileh for doing his best to keep Memento away from the pit and try and stall ROCCAT as much as possible.
Stop Norskeren as much as possible as well. Generally well played, I feel like, from Unicorns to secure the Baron. Does cost them a lot, but you can see, I like this from the side of ROCCAT in terms of damage distribution there, Vedius. Everybody is doing something in that fight, trying to make sure that that Baron does not happen.
Yeah, but now they've got to hold off on this very strong Unicorn squad that still have a Baron, have a good siege with the Tristana and the Azir. I don't think they want to run the risk of diving, given that Ornn typically can set up those kind of engages, but there's no need to risk it. When you have the Baron, it becomes easy. Just group up, start the siege, and then just put some pressure down onto these.
In Vedius, it feels to me like this is pretty much a dream siege composition between Ornn, Azir, and Tristana. Unicorns of Love are terrifying if you're sitting under that tower as ROCCAT.
I agree. They could easily try and take those tier 1s in the top and bot, but for some reason they have their eyes set on this tier 2 in the mid. Now they've decided to move away. This makes more sense. Just add to the gold that is freely available to you on the map, extend that lead just that bit extra.
Because for now, they haven't actually gotten that much from the Baron. The kills traded back for ROCCAT, balancing out some of the initial 1,500 you get from killing the Baron in the first place. But the towers will now start to make up for it. The Samux takes a slightly creative path to finish.
I have no idea what he was doing.
Yeah, 360 no-scope the turret, I guess, you know?
But he gets it. That's what matters.
MLG big plays.
Now they're on the tier 2 in the bot, and they're going to be there first. Therefore, ROCCAT will just have to concede this.
It's a dead tower.
That is now the only one left for Unicorns to take is the top one. They could easily just push mid, move up through the enemy jungle, sweep everything out, and then secure that objective as well. Baron has about 50 seconds, so it's an easy one to take, but perhaps they consider that to be easy, and they want this one.
Not enough of a challenge. They're like, this is the new Unicorns of Love. We've won 2 games in a row. Free towers do not interest us. We want mid lane. To be fair, they probably want to break this while they have the Baron buff.
Yes, that's what I think is the case.
They're also eager to silence Blanc, who just keeps making that sound. And they're going to get the tower.
They get it. There we are. Unicorns committed to the strategy. It ends up working out. The Baron will fade fairly soon, and securing that tier 1 in the top should be pretty easy for them as well, given that they basically gained control over ROCCAT's topside jungle. And this is the play that they wanted to make a little earlier on, which ROCCAT was successfully able to punish. Let's see if ROCCAT can punish it again. Looks like for the time being, they shall not.
Members not in position. Prophet forced to catch the wave on the bottom side. Now Samux sees the top lane tower. I wasn't sure if they're going to cheer for that one. It's very low health. I wasn't sure if they had enough time. They do.
They've got to be on the ball.
They really do, man.
You know? I felt like they were slacking a little bit there. They had some great chance at the start of the game.
I mean, maybe they've thought about it more than you have, and they're thinking, oh, low health turret, we do soft cheer, approximately 30 decibels.
Right.
Full health, we do 120. You know,
maybe they have like a sheet, you know, like a score chart.
They're so coordinated.
So coordinated. Now, collapse coming out from the Unicorns.
Kold can slow Prophet down. Unfortunately, very hard to kill that Gnar with only a Tahm Kench to back you up. Kold can kill squishies. Kold cannot kill the frozen Mallet Black Cleaver Gnar.
Indeed. They're going to try, though. They're committed. Look, 3 members down towards the bot side. 4, 5 members from Unicorns.
For now,
they're steal away all these buffs.
They're going to get the blue buff. They're set up to siege on the bottom side.
Well, that's level 18.
This is what I love. You can tell when the caution pings come in on a random bush that we're playing in a region with Fnatic.
Like, whoa, guys. I've seen this one
Death
before.
bush. This is not how we're going to lose this time.
Just looking more at some of the items that have been poor supports. So little gold.
QSS, though, does come in for Totoro. Clearly committed to saving his AD carry.
I wonder if he's doing that. Yeah. So you've got the Charm from Norskeren and also the Root from EQ. Also the ulti from Memento, given that he's not
ulti from Gnar.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense. He wants to make sure that he's freely available to gobble up whoever ends up in a dire situation.
Slow and steady, Vedius. I feel like I understand what Unicorns of Love are going for here, right? They're just going to close it out slow and steady. There's really no pressure on them to go any faster to try to accelerate the pace of the game. They've got good scaling options.
True.
But I feel like ROCCAT might be running out of time. Now, I know Corki is a really strong late game carry, but is it enough to bring it home? Well, we're going to find out. Xayah does use the ultimate. Norskeren's still ready to pick a fight because Memento is off to the side. They have found Kold. Now trying to see if they can keep the fight going, but the team is too split. There's no follow-up damage onto the Kha'Zix.
Yeah, again, why is ROCCAT so split up right now? They're going to continue with the chase.
Prophet with the Frozen Mallet does make an easy chase. Samux, though, not scared whatsoever, but he might need to be. Both teams just poking at each other. ROCCAT tried to find something, but they're not going to walk away with anything.
The re-engage from ROCCAT was good because Memento got a really solid pick onto Kold. If Norskeren uses his flash and ulti to then get the knockup onto that target, I could see that being a very easy kill for ROCCAT. And then they can just reclaim full vision control around the Baron and set up nicely for the objective that's going to be spawning in about 40 seconds. Instead, Memento locks down the jungler, and then ROCCAT go, let's engage without any other follow-up or reliable follow-up regardless. And they're not able to find a pick. And I just feel like the coordination from ROCCAT just feels very off.
Like they see the opportunity.
Yeah.
And they're all like, guys, we see it, we can do this. They go, yes, except they're all talking about different opportunities. Memento sees Kold in the jungle. The rest of the team sees an opportunity to engage on Samux. They need to be on the same page. Now, though, Elder Dragon has spawned. Unicorns Love do so much damage. Samux now pushing Memento back. It looks like they may just try to take this one down. Can Memento steal it? Where's it going to go? Elder Dragon still in the background, but it's not important because Exileh has been deleted. Unicorns of Love try to speed up the game, and it may cost them so many low health members. CQ has fired his ultimate the wrong way in the heat of the moment. Kold is so low. Prophet is in the middle of everything. Gnar is going to knock 2 back. The Wallop finds the stun. ROCCAT are here to play. Looking for the turn and burn. They're going to get 1. Blanc's gonna walk down 1 more. All too easy as Unicorns of Love overplay their hand.
And finally, ROCCAT find the fight that they were looking for. Unicorns split apart. They leave Exileh isolated, and ROCCAT are so quick to punish. They've got their eyes set on this Elder Drake. Kold is alive, but he's nowhere near. That's gonna be an easy objective for ROCCAT.
3K, cutting it down. Taking a bit of time to burst. Kold is on the way, but they still managed to secure it. It's only a single Elder Drake, but 90 extra burn on their attack's gonna feel pretty good. Samux reminds Blanc that he's still scary as ever, but this is the proactive play we wanted to see from ROCCAT, shutting down the Unicorns of Love.
Now, the Baron is alive. TP is available for WhiteKnight in 20 seconds when he respawns. Exileh's not gonna be near this fight. Pressure is on Kold. Can he get the steal?
Very vulnerable Kha'Zix. Very easy to kill if he leaps into that pit. He's going to have to time this perfectly, but he's stealthed up and he wants to burn through Heaq. Stun not going to connect. Baron is going to drop in favor of ROCCAT. They're now trying to retreat. Norskeren makes it over the wall. Kold, no way to follow. Everything going in ROCCAT's favor, Vedius.
This feels kind of like a classic Unicorns move. Let's have a look. So the Dragon is taken down very quickly. Unicorns actually choose to back away, and Samux is staying committed. Notice how Exileh moves up towards the top side, and there's no support Tahm Kench there to gobble him up to safety. It was a good target focus there from Norskeren, and this time there was reliable follow-up. Without the Azir available, it becomes easy for ROCCAT to just work their way wherever the targets that are in front of them, because Samux, he doesn't feel confident to stick in these fights. Really good pick there from Norskeren. And unfortunately for Exileh, it was like, I can't even blame him for that, because I'm looking at Totoro and I'm thinking he should have been in a position to save him. That's why he has the QSS. That's why he's there.
And I mean, I have to say, good. ROCCAT played that so well. They punished everything. But you have to wonder if Unicorns of Love had just finished the Elder Dragon, or if Samux had just saved his ultimate to maybe disengage for himself. What they might have been able to do. Unicorns of Love, though, still hungry. Still feel like they are the team that can make the play. Are going to get the shutdown as WhiteKnight leaps forward. Samux uncontested the backline. Exileh as well. He's leaping forward. He is fearless. That's 1 more. Kold is going to get the reset. Looking for the bounce house, but they're firing back. Prophet tries to find the disengage. It's too little too late. He's got a Black Cleaver. He's got a Frozen Mallet, but he doesn't have a team. He might make it out with his life, but not going to find the team fight win. Don't chase the Gnar. Don't do it. It's like singed.
I thought Unicorns were making a huge risk by engaging onto an Elder Dragon team, but they found an impressive fight. Blanc was low, WhiteKnight finds the pick, and now they have their eyes set on an inhibitor in the middle lane.
Want to get it. Wave is pushing forward. Wants to get Prophet, but he fumbled. I mean, ROCCAT are losing right now, but shout out to Prophet for not dying.
But the question is, will UOL be able to end the game? Look at those death timers, Drakos.
Count down, 13 seconds, 11, 19, 11, all over the place. About 10 seconds till everyone is back up.
Prophet just being the lone man to keep ROCCAT in the game. Core, 2 back and forth fights. So
we have to watch this.
How does Blanc take so much damage? Ooh, good poke there from Exileh to force him out. And then WhiteKnight just jumps in and he's like, boom, headshot. Easy pickup from him. That turns it into a very quick 5v4. And this is where Samux and Exileh can shine. They're not afraid to commit. They can just walk their way through the entire team of ROCCAT. And this is the kind of team fight power that this comp has available to it.
So strong. Oh!
Last team fight. Last team fight.
That... Yo, that's not allowed.
That is a late game Azir. That hurts, man. That's why they call him an emperor.
10k damage, Emperor threshold. It's official.
That is the benchmark.
Not the player. Yeah. Not the player. That would be a weird accolade to give him. All right. The Emperor threshold achieved. We'll see who's going to get 10,000 damage in a team fight next time in the ULCS. Can't imagine it's going to happen too frequently, but just beautifully played by Exileh. And I think the big damage numbers say Exileh, and you need to look at Exileh, but also WhiteKnight. Fantastic ultimate. Yeah, great confidence to move forward.
So, remember at the beginning of the game, Drakos, we said, it's actually really difficult to tell, like, even though UOL had some good early plays, like, the game's not over for ROCCAT, and even though ROCCAT fell behind, like, They were able to come back, and then you're still looking at this UOL comp, and you're thinking, it's still pretty close. It's still very close. The gold starting to mean less and less. Yes, UOL have the scaling factor, but ROCCAT don't have a weak team fight comp either.
To be fair, I mean, Gnar isn't a true tank, but Kha'Zix, you know, if he doesn't find the way onto the back line, he's not an amazing team fighter.
Very true. So I definitely think ROCCAT, if they can find a good pick, if they can have the same sort of fight they had around the Elder Dragon where their target focus is good, they shut down someone like an Exileh very early on, maybe even a Samux, maybe even a Kold, then they could very easily win the fight.
Because right now you look at this team, Exileh, definitely the carrier we're looking at. Yesterday, Samux stepped up, and he's continuing to step up today, continuing to be a damage threat. And Unicorns and Love are shaping up into a team with two very clear players with carry potential in Samux and Exileh, the same way that we saw last year. So while they have to be feeling good, ROCCAT has to know that these are the guys you need to shut down.
Would love to see a bit of deep vision coming out from ROCCAT to set up Prophet for a Mega Gnar flank. I think that could be a great avenue for them to win out on these late game fights. Going to be difficult though, given the amount of control that UOL have over the map. As you can see, the top side littered with wards from the Unicorns. ROCCAT doing their best to clear things out, but highly unlikely that they'll be able to spot absolutely everything. They're singing that they love
I know. Guys, we're not supposed to share this with the world. This was secret and special. It was something we were going to share.
I think they just hate the Welsh. I think that's all it is.
I mean, to be fair.
What do you mean there's no to be fair in that situation?
You're not the most loved people. I don't know why.
Welsh are great, okay?
I mean, sure. I don't know. There does appear to be some animosity there, though.
Hey, listen. We lost at rugby. We'll give them this one time. One time. Next time.
I thought it was a pretty historical.
Nope, not historic at all.
You're all right, dude.
I'm all right.
Yeah. In a late game where a single decision could end the game in a moment, you guys bridged the gap so well. Now, of course, I have been notified by our wonderful production team that the only person without an Ornn item in this game is Totoro. Now, he's lacking a lot of items, so I'm not going to flame him for that. It's only 40 minutes of the game. He's still quite behind in gold.
Yep.
And I think most people would choose extra control wards over an Ornn item anyway, but we have now hit the Molten Edge for Tristana, which is somehow stronger than Infinity, I guess.
Because it burns things.
It burns. It's like Infinity, but on fire.
Yeah, exactly. You've got it. It's going to be important with the Baron spawning soon. This is going to be the objective to decide the game, Drakos. Middle inhibitor, not entirely sure when it's respawning, but I do want to say it's relatively soon for ROCCAT. They're just going to keep clearing out these waves.
Wait. And correct me if I'm wrong, Vedius, if you hype up for a team fight here. Oh, but every team who has started the objective has in turn lost the fight and quite frequently the objective as well.
That does seem like a trend.
But ROCCAT look like they're the ones who are going to start the Baron, and that's a little concerning.
I don't know if they should start the Baron.
Yeah,
UOL have priority over mid. That is like the key thing before starting any Baron. Priority over mid lane.
Two free autos. Shard goes in. Kold's going to poke with some of the Void Spikes.
They need to clear top. I don't know if they can send anyone though. Prophet should go and catch the wave if he can, but he wants to stay with his team.
And there's just an invisible Kha'Zix waiting in that brush. Tanks have to go first, but you're walking straight into the carry line. Good pathing comes in from ROCCAT. Memento not going to take too many risks here. Loses a bit of health. Blanc.
Oh! That's a lot of damage. He's going to have to go back to base. TP back in. This could be the go button for the Unicorn.
Want to get it. Very strong Baron this late in the game. Only WhiteKnight is hitting it.
TP, here it comes.
Prophet is ready. He's almost to Mega. He's almost to Mega. Blanc is here now.
He's taking a lot of damage though. The poke from Exileh
can't afford to get poked down like this.
Right, the mid inhibitor has respawned. Waves are now pushing back in favor, but here we go.
Immediate call on the Baron. They're just going to cut right through it. It's gone. No chance. Quick pickup from Unicorns.
They don't even need Kold there. Just zoning away the enemy team. ROCCAT forced to quickly back. Elder Dragon spawning in about a minute 20. Here's the flank from Memento, but the rest of his team aren't here. Is he going to go for it? The minion wave will spot him out.
Vedius, I feel like ROCCAT can defend, but they don't exactly have a control mage. They've got a Corki, it's some decent wave clear, but it's not an Orianna, it's not a Syndra.
It's definitely tough, especially with all this poke coming out from the Unicorns. You really can't just run at this Unicorns comp. You've got to find flanks, but Unicorns are doing such a great job of keeping this vision line at either side of the lane. Just look up through the mid. You can see these wards littered both sides to make it impossible for ROCCAT to find that cheeky avenue to come in from behind.
And Vedius, I'm wondering if Unicorns of Love are going to siege or if they're looking at that Elder Dragon timer and they're feeling tempted.
I don't know. It's I think on the one hand it's the safer approach because then you deny another possible win condition for ROCCAT to come and steal it away. But at the same time you want to make the most out of this Baron buff, which only has 2.5 minutes left on it. But it feels like Unicorns, they want to go for the safe approach. They want to secure this objective before they look to try and end the game.
Divided the map, top and bottom. Norskeren looking for the engage. Pretty hard telegraph there, however, so he's just going to walk away. Ornn says, hey, look, it's my turn. He's going to find one onto Betsy. Now looking for a bit of a follow-up. Both teams back off. Neither side going to commit there. Snare does manage to connect, but just trading damage.
Just looking at some of the abilities that we used. Ulti used for both Kold and WhiteKnight. Ulti used for Heaq and Norskeren. So a lot of the engage tools are unavailable, but UOL have priority over the Elder. Can ROCCAT stop this?
Want to get a lot of good disengage tools here as an option. WhiteKnight going to burn it down. Dragon has fallen in their favor. WhiteKnight getting lower and lower. Totoro is going to try to save him. Both carries could now be vulnerable. Blanc, keep your eyes on Blanc. He's going toe-to-toe with Samux. That is not a tool that he wants. Tries to flash to safety. Immediately taken down here. Great fight coming in. Unicorns of Love clean in house, but Kold is now going forward under Prophet. He's a low health target. The rest of ROCCAT trying to target, but Heaq cannot move forward into the team. Double kill for the AD carry, but he now has to retreat as Unicorns of Love fire back with a triple of their own. Kold looks for the reset, tries to find the slow.
And here comes the flank from Totoro.
Pulls Exileh in, wants to get one under Prophet, wants to feel just a little bit more. He's going to get the slow. Exileh now moving forward, he gets the shutdown.
And that is the unofficial pentakill for Exileh as he cleans up ROCCAT and is set to secure another win for the Unicorns of Love.
Frustration on the face of Memento. You can see it on your screen. Unicorns of Love looking so good. I thought it was another risk to take it, but they see ROCCAT fumble the engage. They know this is their time, and they capitalize. They're just going to walk this one down in the end. Very contentious for so much of the game, but a single good Baron call, a single good Dragon call. Bring it home for the Unicorns of Love.
They extend their winning streak now, Drakos.
Third win in a row, Vedius.
Third win in a row. Unicorns close the gap with the middle of the pack teams. They're now at 4 wins. ROCCAT still at 5.
Vedius. They keep looking better, man.
They keep looking better. Much cleaner, less scrappier than yesterday. We did see a couple of fumble team fights from Unicorns, but for the most part, it was Unicorns in control of this game. They were the ones forcing ROCCAT to make the plays. They were the ones constantly putting ROCCAT into a situation where they had to take a gamble, and it was Unicorns that ended up finding the win.
And honestly, playing well with their win conditions, playing safe in the early game, not relying 100% on Kold and Exileh to snowball together, letting them scale up, letting them play their own game, protect the other lanes. Now with Samux coming in as well, WhiteKnight proving himself a team-fighting terror. Things look good for the Unicorns.
Things definitely looking up. Oh man, this playoff race just gets spicier and spicier. We have Giants versus H2K next, the other team at the bottom of the standings looking to close the gap. But a lot of praise has to go over to the Unicorns, but also a lot of question marks for ROCCAT. They felt off today. Their teamwork, coordination, felt a little all over the shop for this ROCCAT squad.
But there's so many moments where you can see, you can tell that they have a play in mind, where Memento goes bottom and you see the engage coming for Norskeren, and then suddenly the ults connect. Or Memento finds what could be a pick onto Kold, but there's no damage to follow up. Things just start to fall apart a little bit in terms of coordination. Of course, the last fight. Norskeren, he's quick. So quick, but he can't hit anybody with the ultimate. Falls apart. Well, remember now to give us your pick for player of the game at LOL Esports on Twitter is the place. You can choose between Exileh, WhiteKnight, and Samux. It's actually a really, really hard call. Although 10k teamfight damage might sway it a little bit.
I'd be willing to give it to Exileh. I think his performances have been getting better. And when you compare it to yesterday's play when he was flashing into 3 people on Rise, I feel like he really stepped up on the Emperor of Shurima this time around.
Definitely good look. Well, after the break, Shox and Officio take a closer look at the duo Joko and Betsy as they face off, as the rest of Giants face off against H2K. We'll also have a chat with Kold, so don't go anywhere.